Welcome to Comical Recovery. I am your host with the most trauma, comedian Jessica Byrne, creator of the upcoming cartoon Bud Ease, winner of multiple East Coast comedy contests and 35 consecutive years of life experience in the School of Hard Knocks. That means I've gotten myself into some shenanigans. So go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button for recognition, tell all your friends about your new addiction, because you will have one. And sharing is caring. I'm feeling mighty goofy today, and it is raining. So if you hear that in the background, that is the new ambiance of the day. You'll hear some thundering here shortly. You're welcome. Maybe if I can get my voice nice and soothing, you'll be able to nap. So, today's topic is emotions, but I have dubbed it energy and motions. I'm sure it's not, I know it's not original. I've heard that somewhere, but I loved it. Energy in motion, emotions. What I also like about that idea is when I have the energy of worry or fear or anxiety and I don't find an outlet, I create some sort of discomfort in my body. Sometimes it's like a migraine or a stomach ache or, for me, nausea, because I can get so anxious I feel nauseous. And that is not having an outlet. When I have an outlet, calling a friend, dancing it out, then I can take the energy, even if it's in words, and move it out of my body into someone's ears, or, like I said, dance it out, move it out of my body, and just throw myself all over the place and get that energy out. Anger, sadness, whatever it is. Cry is a good one. So the book I'm going to reference today is The Body Keeps Score. It talks about how the body stores emotional memories in the muscles and organs and tissues. Emotions to me are clues to action, and action can change the emotion that is currently in my body. So, energy in motion is the definition that I use for emotions. I have more inner conflict when I stifle my emotions, when I bottle them up. I try to cover them or ignore them, disregard them. It's going to create turmoil inside. I pretend I don't have them. That's when I snap and act out of character and usually embarrass myself and become ashamed of my behavior or reaction. And I try not to do that. In fact, what I try to do is when someone's stabbed me in the back, like a recent employer who did that, the temptation to go deeper into that story came, and then I said, no, we're not doing that. Gossip is not my thing. So when you get stabbed in the back and you don't express that emotion, well, what I do express that emotion. In fact, when I got stabbed in the back, I called a couple of friends, and I called them, and the first sentence was a disclaimer. The disclaimer was this: you are about to meet the most disgusting, nastiest, meanest version of me because I need a safe place to vent, because it would be inappropriate for me to say this to this person's face. And I know that you don't know them and that you don't judge me. So here is the worst version of me as I word vomit horrible, hateful things so that I can just get that out of my body and I don't have to keep holding on to it, because that will totally turn against me if I let a resentment fester and grow. I'm letting the thunder happen. Ambiance. It's my belief that there are no problematic emotions. There are problematic ways to express emotions. Emotions become a problem when I do not express them by turning them inward and creating self-hate towards me. Turning them inward is dis-ease, whether it be as simple as my own mental discomfort or as large as a illness. If you check out Louise Hay, she has a book called Heal Your Body. I think that's what it's called. I didn't plan on referring to that, but she has affirmations to different things, even like a cold or if your back hurts. She has the explanation of what that belief is and a correcting affirmation for it. And I think that that's really cool and helpful. And I use that as well. I know there are not many people that subscribe to that kind of thinking, but I doubt any of those people are listening. So onward with this talk of emotion. There are many emotions and many ways to express them. So let's dive into both the emotions, good and bad ways we might express them in order to get ourselves unstuck. What happens with triggers? Let's say you have PTSD. I'm learning that I need to track my triggers and watch for all the signs of stress, including good stresses. Because once I differentiate what's a good stress and a bad stress, I can decide what tool I'm going to use or practice to see if it works. Because that's what this really is. Sometimes I have to practice and see what works. Sometimes things work in one moment and they don't work in another. But writing things down and treating life like a science experiment. I mean, to some that might feel or sound daunting, but I find it to be very exciting. Perhaps it's my inner nerd. And if you don't have one, I highly suggest you get one because they're really fun to hang out with, surprisingly enough. Your own personal inner nerd. Also, other nerds are fun. Conversations, always good. Moving on. Jessica is distracted by this lovely rain and thunder. Movement, even when standing up and stretching to move your body, is also helpful. The more that I listen to where the tension lives, the more I can learn about how I feel about that situation, people, places, things, and how it sits with my soul. So recognizing where the tension is in my body, I can use the chakra system that we just discussed last week. If you didn't listen to that one, check it out. I can use that map to guide me to what energy center that's coming from if I'm not in tune with my body yet. So like if I'm practicing to become in tune with my body, I can start asking myself questions in regards to like, I'm waiting for the thunder. If my head hurts, okay, like, top of my head, I have a migraine. Maybe I'm spiritually not connected, and if there are people that don't believe this, they're going to think I'm bat dung crazy, but that's okay. Yeah, I chose to say the word dung also. So if I use these tools, I have an internal navigation system that tells me that, like, my stomach is turning because I'm walking into something that I don't want to be involved in, doing something against myself, committing, as they say, a sin. Ooh, that was a big one. Committing a sin within my soul. Meaning that I'm going to be upset about it. I'm going to have this circumstance, situation, whatever, rolling through my head, bothering me, bickering at me all day, eating at my serenity and sanity. So creating my own personal emotional hell if I don't take the emotional signals advice, right? If I don't listen to it, if I choose to ignore it. And in the chakra podcast, I talk a little bit about neglect and what that can look like. And I have done that in my current. I have neglected myself because it was what was taught to me. So I bring that up because our emotional hell was probably pre-created by our parents' and grandparents' emotional hell. And we just hopped into that reality because it was what we know. So I'm sitting here deciding to work on this topic, thinking about whether I should spend 90 minutes of my time doing yoga this morning or 5 hours to meet the goal of these podcasts so that I can try to better manage my week next week. And I had to think about past me and her conquests or lack thereof, and future me who wants balance and knows that new habits need to be laid brick by brick, not tossed around off the wheelbarrow all at once into cement, hoping something will stick. So I'm sitting here with my emotions wanting to run into action that will actually add more stress to my time and guilt to my goal towards personal perfection, which I deeply desire, of course, And then it leaves me in this place where I'm either going to do it all at once or not do it at all. And that's where I'm coming from. That's what I'm healing from, is this all or nothing mentality. So what I realized in that when I sat with myself and I thought about those things, about this goal of perfection, I have to do all the fucking, oops, I never swear. I'm trying to avoid it. But there it was, guys. You heard it. I do. Either I'm trying to do everything all at once in one day so that basically I can fit everything else all at once in the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Or I'm harping on myself for not being physically fit enough. Never enough. And that's what came to light, was never enough. I keep putting all these tasks so that eventually I'll feel enough. But what I need to do is just accept the process where I'm at. And as a creative person, I'm not creative all the time. I need a downtime. I need to soak in the world around me to fill the cup of creativity in the first place, to become inspired. So let's talk about emotions and some suggested actions. I'm going to actually refer to my law of attraction planner that I love so much. Around this time of year, I usually am emailing them, asking them when their new covers are going to come out, because I've been getting this planner for the last 4 years. It's really, really cool. Obviously, I love it because I've been consistent with it. it's got this really neat guide and measuring stick to progression in your personal growth and habits. And I highly recommend writing in general, as I think you know by now. This is a tool that encourages that and gives you like an outline, I would say, to check in with yourself. So I ended up opening my planner to a different page than I was looking for, and I started reading the lifestyle statement that I wrote, and it was really cool to see that most days how I wake up and start my day is exactly what I wrote down. And I've seen that in every single planner that I've had. In the beginning of this planner, there's a chart of your emotional vibrations. At the bottom of the chart is depression, and it folds out to the right. So it folds out to the left, actually, and the right of it is at the chart. So there's this chart of affirmations, and then to the right of the chart of affirmations, there's a chart of a list of actions. So, you can either affirm a new, more positive thought, or you can actually put an action to it, or you can do both. The bottom of the chart, like I said, it starts with depression, and then on the top of that, it's a section of anger. Then on top of anger, we move up to blame. So the chart, as you go up, you're raising your vibration. I know that kind of sounds weird because we went from depression, anger, blame. Then frustration is on top of blame. And then we see hope. And then above hope is enthusiasm. And then above enthusiasm is bliss. And I think that's where we all want to live. At least that's where I want to live, for sure. But I think that's where we all want to live. I hope that's where we all want to live. So each feeling has a sub-feeling below, or a few sub-feelings, I believe. And they're the same vibrational frequency. So if you don't feel a certain, like maybe not depression, but there's something underneath it, then, it's just like a guide that you can say, hey, I'm feeling that. And each of them is in alignment with a chakra, which, of course, we talked about having it be the energy centers that hold memories, core beliefs around what's happening in that particular age, and how we build our sense of self and where that comes from. All of that is explained in the Chakra and Age podcast that I just posted. But I want to share the feelings mentioned from the bottom to the top so that if you need a little ladder and you want to try climbing it, you can. You can use these options to start if they strike your interest, and hopefully they'll help. So we're going to start with the energy of depression. I like a few of the suggestions, but I wanted to pick two that I believe would be the easiest, because when I am in a super depressed state, I am also very resistant. It's the hardest time for me to take physical action. And, even to get my sense of humor at times, depending on how low my depression is. So the planner suggests watching a funny movie or show, which, like I said, sometimes sometimes for me, I can't laugh. And then it also suggests that allowing yourself to be less than perfect. And that's not always easy either. But when you start, it's only uncomfortable because you're not used to it. And the more you practice it, the more comfortable you get. And the less you'll need people, which is the best part. Best part. It's a good tool to have in your tool belt. And I say tool belt because it's not something you want to keep in your toolbox. You want to keep it handy at any given moment, the tool to get out of depression. Any tool that you need to get out of a bad emotion. Anger is the next emotion up the scale, and I like the scale and how it's formed because to me, it's a guide for what you need to go through emotionally to get thoroughly through the process of your emotions. Sometimes we start with depression, and there is a layer of anger that we have to go through that we're not dealing with, which has caused the depression in the first place. Depression is all about looking at the past and kind of being stuck in the past something or other that happened. So for anger, which is the scale above, there's 2 good tools from this list. And I would say that'd be identifying and feeling your anger. Once again, not always the easiest thing to do as it's festering. However, when I can see my emotions and validate them, I can develop a relationship with myself and learn to understand my needs. Anger is a sign to navigate me to get motivated and act on something that is not sitting well with me. The other suggestion I like on this list is dance, jump, and go have fun. Listening to music is a great release. And having fun is an open door to possibilities. But music, especially when I'm angry, is so helpful because I can scream or sing it out and express that thoroughly, let it go, and move on. Blame is the next one on the list. I think this is important as well. It's also got sub-emotion of worried and doubtful. So writing is suggested 3 times in this category. But I also like the suggestion of imagining closing your eyes and talking it out. Because sometimes it's the safest, most healing closure that we have available. Frustration's the next one on the scale, and I like this list. I like that it says listing and in dream boards are the actions of this list. Listing your achievements is my favorite. Sometimes I don't feel like I have done enough, and anything that I do, I beat myself up about. Because I have outrageous expectations or unbalanced focus, or, I'm thinking about the things that I did that wasn't up to par for me, instead of just taking note of how far I've come in the process and giving myself a little credit, or seeing how consistent I've been dedicated to the project or, the new habit. A lot of times I just need to see me for who I am and stop lying to myself about and beating myself up about who I'm not. It's so simple when you say it out loud. Hope is the next vibration up the scale. And there's simple suggestions in this part. Practice an act of kindness and compliment 5 people. It gives me a task to accomplish and a treasure hunt for the day to seek out 5 genuine compliments. My mind focuses on things to admire throughout the day, and the day turns out to be more memorable and impactful for me. Enthusiasm is the next on the scale, and it has several creative suggestions: writing goals and writing everything you love. And visualizing is one that I personally know I would find more helpful. I wrote that, and you know what? Today I have found it more helpful. I got this really neat tool that was suggested that I can practice throughout my day, and it's periodically short visualizations of where I want to be and seeing where I am melt away. What I've noticed is that I have reignited my inner child's imagination, enthusiasm, and creativity for something simple that happens multiple times a day. I have added this visualization technique, and every time I am presented with the opportunity to use the technique, I get tapped in directly to my 5-year-old self. And she is like so excited to be a part of 5 seconds of this moment in the day, multiple times a day. Last but not least, it's actually the thing we're after. Top of the scale, bliss. And of course, visualization is the top suggestion. And feeling grateful is another tool that I strap to my tool belt. It's not always easy to use, but it's worth it. And way easier to use when practicing daily. I like to listen to affirmations and guided meditations for this exact reason, so that I can get my mind trained subliminally until I practice it consciously myself. I also feel like listening to those things, those guided meditations and affirmations that are already pre-recorded, helps create a pathway in my mind. Like, it opens my mind up to being receptive to me really believing those thoughts. And it's creating this repetitiveness. I don't have to do a lot of work. I put my headphones in and I fall asleep. But it still affects me in an amazing way. I wake up in such a different attitude after listening to affirmations versus falling asleep to TV and commercials. 100% happier than falling asleep to TV. Or falling asleep without anything and being woken up abruptly by people doing people things. So, that's energy in motion. That is my definition of emotions. I hope you found it interesting and insightful, maybe entertaining. I don't really know. I can be really hard on myself, so we're not going to go there. But I appreciate you joining me. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing and passing me around to your friends. I'm not even going to say it this time, guys. Just remember, I will say this. Laughter is the best medicine. And sharing is caring. So I'll see you next time for more comical recovery with your friend and host, comedian Jessica Byrne. I hope you enjoyed our rainy day together, and I'll see you next time.